Buying a home here in the San Francisco Bay Area can be incredibly tricky. And my hope is that by watching this video series, we make your home buying experience just a little bit easier. Welcome back to part 2 of how to buy a home in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, if you haven't watched part 1, I highly recommend that you do that before watching this video. You can watch that video right here, and then don't just watch that video. Come straight over here and watch this one, because in this video, we're going to teach you exactly how to set yourself up for success and how my team personally has gotten over 70% of our clients into contract on their very first offer. Think about that. Most clients right now that I'm hearing of, most buyers right now are making 10 plus offers on properties before getting their offer accepted. And we have a 70% chance of getting you into contract on the very first home. And I'm going to share that strategy with you on this video so that if you're like, Danny, I hate you, I would never want to work with you, you can still use this strategy to help you win in this ultra competitive Silicon Valley real estate market. So we left off part 1A of the home buying process, which is pre-escrow. Now we're going to go into part 1B, which is also pre-escrow, right up until the point we get your offer accepted. And so as you can recall, part 1A, we went over how to identify the area. We went over your wants and needs, how to identify the correct agent, and then lastly, how to identify the correct lender, or the benefits of getting pre-qualified and pre-approved with the right lender. And now we're moving on to phase 1B. And so right after you get your pre-approval is the fun part. That's the great part when we're looking for homes. And that's actually where a lot of buyers spend the majority of their time. A mistake that I see a lot of home buyers making in the San Francisco Bay Area is that they actually start with the home shopping. Before they do all of their homework and lay all the proper foundation, they jump straight to the open house situation, which honestly is not the right way to look for homes. A lot of buyers right now, I've seen this happen where they spend 6 months, they're going and they're window shopping at open houses. Here's the problem. One day they walk into a home and they fall in love with it. It's a 10 out of 10, the best home they've ever seen in their entire life. And they have absolutely none of their ducks in a row. And so what they do is they put themselves into a very vulnerable situation where they talk to the agents that's right there at the open house, which, by the way, remember, that is a seller's representative. The seller's representative is there at the open house, and you're talking to them and letting them know all you're giving up a lot of negotiation power right there. So you're talking to the agent at the open house. They're like, yeah, of course, we would love to write the offer for you. Go ahead and get approved with my lender. Well, here's the thing. You've never vetted the agent. You've never vetted the lender, and you're working with a team that you honestly don't know if you can trust. Now, most agents are great agents, and that's very, I would stand behind that we have a lot of great agents in the industry, but we also have some not so great players. And so you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. And by going out there and looking at open houses by yourself and not having a proper representative accompanying you, or at least giving you information and knowledge and insights as you're going through your home search, you put yourself in a very, like I said before, vulnerable situation. The other problem with the let's go to all the open houses until we find the right house strategy is that a lot of times in this market, what we're seeing is, especially with the low inventory that we're seeing, is homes being listed on the market either on a Monday or a Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, the really aggressive buyers are seeing houses, and the buyers that work with us are in that same boat. We're going out there on the weekdays to show them property. Why? Because we know that if they love the home and they want to write the offer, we should write it right then and there. Let's not wait till the offer deadline. Let's put an offer in front of the seller today. Well, here's what happens. Some of the time, the seller decides to take that offer, and all of a sudden, that home is no longer available even before the first weekend of open house. So not only have you put yourself in a vulnerable situation, you've also put yourself in a situation where you actually don't always have access to all of the inventory. Because instead of having access to all the homes, all you get when you go to open houses are the leftovers. Now, here's the great news. If you take my advice and you work with an agent and you've already solidified and identified an agent, now you're going through the home shopping process, you have the ability to access those properties during the weekdays. And let's not forget that seeing those properties before the first weekend of open house could mean that you get a preemptive offer accepted, meaning you shortcut the chaos and the anarchy of a multiple offer situation, and you secure the home before any other buyer can get access to it. And this happens very frequently. Believe it or not, happens a lot in Silicon Valley. Also, by working with a skilled agent or a skilled team, you also have the ability to access what are known as off-market opportunities, which are essentially homes that are not listed for sale anywhere online, meaning you can't find them on Redfin, you can't find them on Zillow, you can't find them on Realtor.com, you can't find them on the MLS. They are privately held listings, and this could be for a variety of reasons. A lot of times, these listings are actually homes that will be coming to market in 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. And privately amongst our network of agents, select networks of agents, we have access to these listings before they actually go on the market. And so some of the time sellers are willing to entertain offers before they even go live on the MLS. Now, I know what you're thinking at home. You're like, why would a seller ever want to do that? Well, you'd be surprised. There are a lot of reasons why home sellers would choose to sell their home before they go on the market. Number one, convenience. You see, a lot of times, well, first of all, the market has gone so incredibly high right now that sellers are like astounded as to what they could actually get for their home. So while their home is worth 2.5, in their mind, it's like, well, my gosh, like even if I could get 2.4 for this house, I would be ecstatic and over the moon. And so if they are a little bit older, or maybe have some health issues, or if they just don't want to deal with the hassle of getting all the stuff out of their house, because a lot of people have been living in their homes for 20, 30 years. And so just the thought, it's so daunting of getting everything out to prepare it for sale, get the home ready and everything. And so sometimes sellers say, hey, if you can get me this price before we go through the headache of doing all of this work, I would be happy with that. And who are we to tell the sellers no, and so now I coach my sellers that is not the right thing to do for their bottom line, but sometimes sellers decide that that's what they want to do. And so you would be surprised as to how often that does happen here in Silicon Valley. And here at the Selling Silicon Valley Group, we actually have what we call our off-market triple play. We here at Selling Silicon Valley can actually access off-market opportunities in 3 different ways. Number one, we have access to a site called Top Agent Network, which is a networking group for the top 10% of realtors in the entire San Francisco Bay Area. We can share coming soon and off-market listings and opportunities on that platform. And it's exclusive to only the top 10% of agents. But as you can imagine, the top 10% do well over 50 to 60% of the business. And so we have access to a good portion of the inventory before it even comes on the market. And this is a portal that all of our buyers get signed up for free when they work with us. And so we have access to that portal. We get a lot of off-market opportunities through that channel alone. Then we have our brokerage EXP. We have 9,000 agents in all of California. And so we're seeing off-market opportunities come in every single day from our brokerage network. And not only that, we have access to a ton of different Facebook groups and everything here locally in the Bay Area that we belong to. And so we have access to those agent-to-agent off-market opportunities as well. And then finally, the last off-market opportunity that we have access to is actually just going directly to the home sellers. And so what we do a lot of times for our home buyers who are in a crisis situation, for example, they haven't seen a home pop up in the community that they're interested in for the last 60 days, we will go out of our way to identify high likely to sell sellers in that community and actually solicit them directly via door knocking, literally like knocking on their door, or sending them a piece of mail, letting them know that we have a buyer that's a perfect match for their property. And so we've every single year, without fail, we match a couple of buyers up off market in that capacity by sending letters directly to home sellers. These homes aren't on the market and they haven't even told an agent yet that they want to work or that they want to sell a home, but they've told us. And so a lot of times we can match those private sellers up with our buyers and boom, help you buy the home of your dreams with zero competition. All right, great. So now you know all the mistakes to avoid during the home shopping process. Don't wait till the weekends. Don't wait till the open houses. Go in, get in early so that you don't just get the leftovers, and work with an agent that has networks behind them that can help find you off-market opportunities before they even come on the market, because that's really where the extra value kicks in, is when they're able to provide you with off-market opportunities that you would never have access to if you just did all of your shopping online and went to just open houses and did it the way that, honestly, so many Bay Area buyers do, which is ultimately an incredibly inefficient way to conduct your home shopping experience. All right. So now you've found the perfect home, the one, oh my gosh, it is a 10 out of 10. It's the right home for you, for your family. But here's the problem. There's 15 other buyers that feel the exact same way about that house. So how do you win in that kind of situation? And by the way, you can fill in the number there. It's 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. We've seen up to 90 offers I've seen personally on a single home. Think about that, 90 offers on a house. How do you stand out? How do you make sure that you're the one who wins the house? Well, here at the Selling Silicon Valley Group, we have what we call the SSV Success Formula, which is the same formula that we've used over the last 4 years. And last year, in last year's insane 2021 competitive market, we were able to get our buyers' first offer accepted over 70% of the time. That's insane. And I'm going to share exactly how we do it. The first and most obvious way that we do it is we make sure that we come in with the most competitive terms and price possible. Now, how do we determine the competitive price? We'll get there. In terms of terms, we have inspections, we have appraisals, and we have the loan to worry about. And the inspections, it just depends. A lot of times home sellers are getting the home inspections done up front. And so what you should know as a home buyer is that if a seller gets the home inspections done up front, there's good news, bad news. The good news is you don't have to pay for your own inspections. But the bad news is that most of the time, if you have 15 other buyers, you're going to be expected to come in without that inspection contingency. Now, obviously, I am not advising you to do that. I am disclaimer. I'm not advising you to do that on this video, but it is a very common thing that happens if inspections are done up front. The appraisal. Well, the appraisal with the proper data and guidance, an agent such as ourselves can help you determine whether or not the home is going to appraise for the price that you're offering. And so our job as an agent is to give you the very worst case scenario in terms of what the home could possibly appraise for. Meaning if you offer, say, 2.5 million on a house, and the appraisal, we believe that like the appraisal is good up until 2.6. We'll say, hey, worst case scenario, this appraisal comes in at 2.6, which means you've got a $100,000 buffer. Or it could be the opposite. At worst case scenario, appraisal is 2.4. So let's talk to the lender and make sure that that's a possibility if we have that kind of appraisal shortage. So all of that gets taken care of up front so that theoretically, if you're in a multiple offer situation, the appraisal contingency is something that you can waive if you need to do it in order to be competitive. And then finally, we have our loan contingency. Financing is a very tricky thing. And one of the biggest pieces to our SSV success formula is in having you work with a lender that we know and that we trust. I've worked with the same lender now for 8 years, and she has been an integral part to our success for that entire time. Getting my buyer's offer accepted when we were 10 offers deep, 15 offers deep, 20 offers deep, 25 offers deep, competition-wise, and we're still able to get our buyer's offer accepted for 2 reasons on the loan. First of all, our preferred lender is able to pre-underwrite all of our buyers' files before we go into contract and before we even write offers. What does that mean? Well, when you submit your documentation to a lender, typically they issue what's called a pre-approval. The pre-approval means that it's literally a pre-approval, meaning they haven't approved your loan. And so what she's able to do is take it all the way through underwriting, which normally happens during the escrow process. So this underwriting period usually takes anywhere from 10 to 14 days. At the end of that underwriting process, the bank is either going to say yay or nay. And if they say nay, you have your loan contingency, you're able to back out of the contract at that point. If they say yay, then all systems go. At that point, they issue what's called a conditional approval. And so that is what our lender is actually able to do before you even write an offer. And so at that point, your offer becomes as strong as a cash offer. Why? The bank is already committed to lending to you. And so when we say cash is king, that's not true. It is the security of cash that's king. And so the second reason why our lender is so critical to our success is because not only does she do that, but then she also takes the time to call the listing agent every single time we submit an offer, and vouches for you and lets her know, hey, listen, in terms of security, this is as good as it gets. It's as good as a cash offer. We've pre-underwritten the file. This buyer is good to go. They are solid, and any reassurance that your seller needs or anything at all, you just let me know, and I'm happy to talk to them. I'm happy to talk to you more about it. And this buyer is going to be the best buyer possible for this house. There's an element of salesmanship to the loan side as well, not just agency, not just real estate agents, but lenders have to be good salespeople as well. And that's what differentiates the good from the great. And so when you have somebody who has the goods to back up their salesmanship, meaning she has the underwriting down, she has the products available, and she's good at communicating it, that's when the magic really happens. If you'd like more information on how our preferred lender could help you win in this market and get pre-underwritten before you make offers, you can text the word loan to the number down below, and we'll send all that information straight to your inbox. But you see, it doesn't just stop at submitting the best terms. It's also about submitting with the best price. And that's where our 3-point negotiation strategy really comes into effect. You see, too many realtors right now are using just numbers and data and intuition to help their buyers come up with a number to write. But here's the problem. All intuition and all data and all facts go out the window when you involve human emotion. And so in this market, what we've learned to do is conduct our negotiations in a series of 3 calls that allows us to get a commitment from the listing agent right at the deadline, like literally at say the deadline's at noon. At 12:01, we're on the phone with them, and they're telling us exactly what we need to do in order to win. And there's a variety of different things that happen during these calls. But the one thing I do know is that of all the agents that work in Silicon Valley, you can probably count on one hand the number of agents that call more than twice. And so we do an exceptional job of calling the agents time and time and time again, building that trust, building that rapport that so many agents fail to do. They think of it as me versus them. And what we know here at Selling Silicon Valley is that friends like to help each other way more than enemies. And so we do everything that we can in the negotiation phase to not make them feel like our enemy, but rather create a friendship with the listing agent. And at the end of that 3rd call, when we've gotten off the phone with the listing agent, more often than not, as the proof is in the pudding, we are getting a solid number or a very concise range that we then come back to you, the buyer, with and say, hey, the agent told us the highest offer is at 2.63. So they said, use that information to make the offer that's right for you. So at that point, you can choose the price that makes sense for you. And so that is ultimately the power. Or they come to us and say, hey, it's around the 3.5 mark. It's around the 3.5 mark. And say, okay, well, 3.5, like 3.55 sounds like it would be significantly enough over to be considered and not have a counter situation. And the question that we do ask every single time is, what price is it going to take to avoid a counter situation? And sometimes the agent gives it to us, in which case it is a slam dunk. We win that every single time. And in some cases, the agent says, you know what, I don't know, I can't commit to that right now, but do your best, and here's a range at which you could consider. Either way, we're coming to you with so much more information than you would ever get from the vast majority of agents' negotiation strategies, which is just submit it and pray. It's not a strategy. It's a prayer. So I firmly believe in the strategy that we deploy in this marketplace, because we have the data, we have the stats. You've seen it on our channel before. We know the market, we know the stats. And then when we pair that with our negotiation strategy, we can always come up with the number that's right for you and for your family. And sometimes that number is, let's not write on this one because it went way over our budget. And that's totally fine. But it's much better to know that up front than it is to go through the agony and the heartache of writing an offer and not getting it accepted. And so that's really the bottom line, that in this market, the people who win in this market are the ones who are able to extract the most information out of the listing agent and out of the seller's representatives. And so we run a strategy that has been incredibly successful. And I just gave it to you. So you can go ahead and use that same strategy to the best of your ability. And I highly encourage you to use it, regardless of whether or not you work with my team, because the truth is that in this market, those who go out of their way to siphon off additional information from the listing agent that nobody else has, that information usually ends up being the difference in getting your offer accepted. But what if there are no inspection reports on the house? What if there is very little competition on the house? What do we do then? Well, I guess you're just going to have to wait until the next video on how to buy a home here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And speaking of this video, if you've made it all the way till the end, it would really help me. It would really, truly help this channel out if you could do me 3 things. Hit that subscribe button, click that little notification bell, and give us a thumbs up while you're at it. It costs you nothing, and it really helps us get in front of more home buyers just like yourself that need our help. This is Danny Gould, everyone, with the Selling Silicon Valley Group, and I will catch all of you in the next video.